Hey, it's Tanessa Nicole here on another episode that we are talking about triggers and trauma, past hurts. We're picking up some momentum. This is the third episode, and today I want to talk about something that I mentioned a few months back that I wanted to go into more depth about, and I thought this season of triggers and traumas would be a perfect time to talk about it, and that is, ready for it? Rejection. Some of us, I'll even say many of us, at one time or another, and even some of us still, are dealing with some rejection. Um, I did a little bit of research on rejection, plus, I have plenty of life experience with dealing with rejection. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So let's just get right into it. The wait is over. So, first, rejection. I want to give you some signs, a little quiz here for you. So, first, you know what you got to do: get your pen, get your paper, because it's time to take some notes. I want you to write down your answers. You can always pause this so that you can dig deeper and really try to um, think about some of the answers and what comes to mind when I ask you some of these questions. So, of course, I took notes too. So, number one, a sign that you would know if you're possibly dealing with rejection. Do you seek the approval of others? And I mean, like, people who aren't even like relevant, so to speak, and not being disrespectful by saying that, but if like you're like a people pleaser, you're always looking for the approval of others. um that would be a point, so to speak. And the whole idea here is you want to get as least points or no points if possible. So, number one, the question is, do you seek the approval of others? Number two, let's say that you see someone. You don't know if they see you or not, but you see them and they don't speak to you. And maybe it's in the grocery store and you see them and then they go down another aisle. And so you start, you get offended because they didn't speak to you, or you're bothered by it now and you have all these internal thoughts that are going through your mind because, why would they not come up to you, why would they not acknowledge me, like, you're that's another sign that you're dealing with rejection. So I mentioned offended. Are you easily offended? Number three, are you easily offended? um Someone can say the slightest thing to you and you like blow it out of proportion. Like, someone may say, "Oh, your hair is different today." They don't say they like it. They don't say they don't like it. They don't say anything except, "Oh, your hair looks different today." And immediately you start playing in your mind, or you might even ask them, "Well, what do you mean? Like, what's wrong with my hair? You don't like my hair today?" That's a sign that you might be dealing with rejection. What was that? That was number three. Number four, you always find yourself going above and beyond, like you're an overachiever. You want the valedictorian in school. If you don't get the promotion at work, you start feeling some kind of way. You always have to one up or outdo someone. If that is you most of the time, then there's a strong possibility that you're dealing with rejection. Another one, you try to prove yourself. You're always trying to prove yourself. With that, it could be that you're never wrong. You're always right in every situation. The other person's always wrong, and you can prove it. In your mind, you can prove it. And so you're always trying to prove yourself. That's another sign that, again, you may be dealing with rejection. Last but not least, you feel that no one understands you. You're always misunderstood. No one gets you. That's another sign of rejection. And so if you answered yes, really to any of those, the more points you have, I think there's five or six questions. The more points you have, the more severe your rejection is. But I'm not going to just leave you with that to sit and ponder on it. But what I do want you to do, remember, is either pause the video and go back and think of a scenario for each one of those questions that you did that in. And I want you to think, let's say for the past 6 months, if you had yes to any of those, I want you then to then think about the situation. Who was it? How many times? Because maybe a lot of different examples come up. Then that is definitely a sign of rejection. So, some things that you can do to combat those feelings of rejection is number one, your self talk. I mentioned all the time how you're with you all the time. I mentioned in other videos, it's not a coincidence that I have the me versus me up there because that's who it is. It's you versus you, no one else. You're not in competition with anyone else. You're only in competition with yourself, trying to be the best you. Not trying to prove yourself to anyone else, but trying to be the best you that you can be. Most of the time, I'm not even saying all the time, but most of the time, you want to always try to be the best that you can be. And so, some of the other things that you can do is your self talk. Get yourself, write yourself down some affirmations that you are saying to you. Find some good qualities about yourself. Maybe you're punctual. Um, Maybe you're kind, maybe you're friendly, maybe you motivate people, maybe you're empathetic, maybe you're compassionate. Those are all great qualities to have, and those are some things that you can write down and talk to yourself and remind yourself of. Um, and then you can also remind yourself that you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You know, you yourself, there's no one else like you. That in itself is something major. God didn't create another you. Matter of fact, He broke the mold after He made you, so no one else could be you. No one else can bring to the table what you bring to the table. And so that in itself is enough. And one of the things I always like to tell, particularly women, I told you I go to the women's prison, and I like to remind the women there that when they were not even created yet, before they were in their mother's womb, the sperm that broke the egg that created them, typically the female sperms, are the slowest. So they got there the slowest. So all the male sperms got there first, but then the female sperm came, just sashaying up the tubes to the egg. And it was you that broke through the egg. If you're a male, it was you that broke through the egg. And so that in itself says you're built for this. You can endure. And so don't give up. Don't quit. Give yourself the affirmation. Tell yourself how wonderful you are, because you are. You have great qualities. And so you have to remind yourself sometimes of those great qualities. I hope this encourages you. I hope you do take the time to sit down to figure out some of these rejection areas and combat them with affirmations so that you can be the best you. Um, of course, subscribe. Of course, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Reach out. Let me know. Until the next episode, I will see you soon. You can also find me at Instagram at Tanessa Nicole. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye bye.